About a year ago, I was introduced to True Niagen, a supplement specifically designed to boost a key cellular resource called NAD. That's short for nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. And I was really impressed with the research that showed that increased NAD levels can promote cellular repair, maintain healthy mitochondria, and increase energy throughout the trillions of cells in our body. I've been taking True Niagen ever since, and I am truly persuaded, which is why I'm so excited to welcome them back to the program. Let's get into how True Niagen works. From age 40 to 60, humans can experience a 50% decline in NAD, leaving our cells with a shortage of that incredibly valuable energy resource. Additionally, things like immune stress, poor diet, even alcohol consumption can all deplete our cell NAD levels. Research suggests that increased NAD can support cellular defense against these physiological stressors. True Niagen is designed to boost NAD levels and is backed by clinical research and regulatory approvals. Now, while the research is still evolving, I am truly impressed by the possibilities surrounding NAD and the research behind True Niagen. And I suggest you check out their information for yourself. To learn more about the research, science, and to order your supply of True Niagen supplement, visit drdrew.com/TrueNiagen and use the code DREW at checkout for a special discount on orders of 3 bottles or more. So that's my website, drdrew.com/TRUNIAGEN, and use the code DREW today.
Hey everyone, it's a dose of Dr. Drew.
Hey everybody, we're going to have friend Jessica Taylor in here just a second. She's an airline pilot who got the COVID and has had a lengthy course with it. I thought it'd be interesting for people to hear from her. By the way, on Johnny Wrestling, you say, how do I feel about the massive peak in cases today? Are you being facetious? Because there has not been, I've been looking through the data and I see a little increase maybe in hospitalizations in LA County, but I can't really make a trend, and I'm not really seeing it anywhere else. So let me know if you're being facetious or not. Susan, maybe you could pull up Jessica for me.
Oh.
I can't quite get it.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I'll do it. Let's see. We're taking calls today, by the way.
Yes, we are.
Wants to call in. Let's see.
9842 Dr. Drew.
Where'd she go?
984.
Did we lose her?
984.
Oh, yeah, there she is. Okay.
237-3739. Jessica, are you there?
Hey, Drew, how are you?
I'm great. I'm so glad to hear your voice. I mean, I watched your Facebook post and I was like, oh boy, I felt so bad for you. How are you feeling?
I'm doing a lot better since the Facebook post for sure. I mean, obviously, as you know, it's been a battle. But at this point, other than with the exception of restricted breathing, everything's been getting progressively better. I'm thankful that it's only just the asthmatic type symptoms that I'm having and not more. But yeah.
Well, I was doing a lot of study on the 1918 Spanish flu, and one of the big takeaways from that one is there was a whole host of neurological and psychiatric and all kinds of weaknesses and all crazy stuff that was left in the aftermath. And I keep fearing that we're going to see something like this from COVID. And given how long your course was, I was like, oh boy, I hope Jessica doesn't get any of this stuff. But it sounds like you're good.
Yeah, and that was actually one of the strangest things. It's like, everybody's used to it. I was telling the story over and over again. The difference between having influenza A and B and COVID-19 was that it at first was normal, right? You get the cough, you get the chills, aches, the fevers, and then it turns into, and that was the first 14 to 20 days, and then it turns into these weird, severe fatigue where I'd get up in the morning and I'd be instantly tired. I'd sleep for 4 more hours and then be up for 15 minutes, sleep for 4 more hours. And I'm 37 years old. My BMI is within normal range. I exercise and work out a lot. I spend most of my time at high altitude. It was extremely fatiguing. I've never felt anything like that before in my entire life. And then the sleep problems came. I had all sorts of weird dreams. The whole loss of sense and smell was degraded. It felt like I had some sort of, it felt like I was taking some sort of medication that was screwing with me.
Yeah. And did you at any point did anybody think that you might need hospitalization?
Yeah, there was about a week there when if my breathing and my coughing, I was coughing so bad that I could barely breathe. My oxygen levels were in the 70s.
Oh my God! Hang on.
They were
whoa, slow down. Your oxygen saturation was in the 70s, and they didn't hospitalize you. That's wild. Woo.
Well, so I went to the ER, and because I was COVID positive, they basically ran through this schematic of punch holes, right? It was like, okay, are you high risk? No, I have no previous health conditions.
Right.
Are you above 65? Nope. Are you? And they were like, even though your oxygen is low, we're going to put you on oxygen, and here in the ER, we're going to treat you like that. But we can't admit you unless you're in these high risk areas, or you're basically pneumonia, you're drowning.
Interesting.
So I was like, great,
Yeah. Well, it was the right thing to do because the hospital was not the highest, the outcomes were not great just because of hospitalization. I had a few go in that were older that did okay, but I also had some that did very poorly. And when it goes bad, man, it goes so bad in that risk category with the metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, and antiphospholipid antibodies. Man, it just goes kapowie. Wow. So I'm just so glad you're better. Well, and you're back flying?
Unfortunately, I'm not. The asthma is a disqualifying thing for my medical, so we're trying to get that under control. And once that is officially diagnosed, and then we can start working through the FAA requirements to get back on the line. So, like I said in the chat yesterday, being at 9,000 feet was kind of a test for us to see how my lungs were going to respond, and it failed. So we have to kind of work through and figure out why, the albuterol and the nebulizer, things like that, aren't working as well as they thought they would work for the asthma symptoms.
Did you have an O2 saturation monitor on when you were up there?
I did, yeah, and it was in the 80s. It was really low.
That's not good.
So, yeah, I just got in the car and drove home. I mean, it was that bad. I had numbness in my whole left hand, and I actually thought I was having a migraine. My whole left hand went numb, and this is obviously a symptom I have of migraine. And then my whole left leg went numb, and then I started getting tingling in my fingers, and I called my pulmonologist, and she said, "Get to Denver as fast as you can. Don't drive. Somebody else drive." So, and if it doesn't correct itself, come right to the ED. And that's exactly what happened.
I am so sorry that you had to go through all that. What a mess. Do you feel like, how are planes these days? That's something people keep asking me. And the only thing I know, I haven't heard of outbreaks amongst airline pilots or flight attendants. Are we seeing any cases, do you know, right now?
I don't think there's any conclusive data on it. And to be honest, I only know of a handful that have been, positive. I think at first, earlier in the year, people thought they had it, and the symptoms were obviously very similar to what the COVID-19 presented. But to be honest, I'll be quite frank, I think the airlines actually did a really, really good job of cleaning their airplanes, and they were going crazy with sanitation on those airplanes from the very first start. And I'm not saying here I am for the airlines. I'm saying that they did the right thing, and they just cleaned the crap out of those airplanes. And I think it's a safe place to return to right now. I think they're doing everything in their power, to obviously not lose financially, but also clean their airplanes to the point where it's safe for everybody to travel, including the crew members. And I think everybody feels safe. I think they feel safe. The passengers feel safe for the most part. And, back when I got it, March 17th, there was nothing. Nobody had even thought it was here in the United States, I think, at that point. So.
Well, I thank you speaking up on behalf of the airline industry. But Susan and I were thinking about taking a flight, and it seemed to me like it was, wearing a mask, hand washing, this idea of recirculating air being a problem. Not if you're wearing a mask. And again, remember, it's droplet transmitted. So I'm not surprised to hear you say what you're saying. So that is great news on all fronts. Well, Jessica, I just thank you for stopping by. I just wanted to say hi and offer my support and hope you're okay. And thank you for the information on the airlines too. I think that will help people move about, and it will help the industry hopefully too.
Yeah, that's all we can hope for at this point. But yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for checking up on me, and thanks for the blatant and the truth about what's going on out there. I think that it's very misconstrued, and I think you and Susan have done a great job in talking about what is actually happening, especially from a medical perspective.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
It's been a bit of a fog of war, as you know, and so just trying to make sense of what we know. That trying to interpret the data out there. It's not it's not been super clear. I don't think anybody got everything 100% right. It was too much uncertainty. So, all right, Jessica, thanks so much.
Yeah.
Talk soon.
All right, thanks, Drew.
All right,
Thanks,
bye-bye.
Susan.
You bet. All right, that is Jessica Taylor. She is an airline pilot, I believe, with Air West, United Airlines, and love having her on stuff as well. I appreciate her checking in with us. Let me go back to your all's restream here. Did Johnny Wrestler ever answer me about him being ironic or not?
Not sure. You have some calls, though.
Yes, I'm going to get to the calls.
I know. I'll let you do your thing. Okay, people want to know about what's happening in certain areas, if it's gone up at all.
Casilla asks, is California still in stage 3? I think we're moving to stage 3. I think we're actually still in stage 2.
Yeah, what are the stages?
5.
I think there's 5. So
yeah, they did say something about sporting events this next week. So that's stage 3 to me. All right. But it is interesting, isn't it? I've been watching the numbers, and somebody asked about Orange County. So let me tell you, there are 7,000 cases in Orange County so far, 296 reported today, 9 deaths reported today. I don't know. I don't have a graph to know whether let's see if I can find a dashboard on this. I can't, to know whether or not how that's trending. My bet is it's the same as LA County. And LA County, if you look at the day-by-day trending, you actually see it trending down. It's not even just not trending up, although hospitalization is kind of bumping around a little bit. New cases is trending down, which means that the big giant experiment we've done with humanity. And by the way, Susan, did you adjust my volume? I guess I was a lot louder than Jessica. The giant experiment.
Oh, she said people were saying she was louder. So.
No, I'm a 10. She was a 6, is what I kept hearing.
Okay.
And that's, yeah.
How is it now? Because I'm dealing with the aftermath of somebody else's show, so the mics are all changed. So I'm trying to goof around with it.
New York City reported no new case fatalities, which is a great thing. Why is CDC allowing large gatherings? I'm not sure the CDC is recommending that. They're certainly asking for masks and distancing, which is what gives us the same benefit as locking down. I just don't want us to squander this opportunity. But it also suggests that this giant experiment we've done with humanity, which is the Ozark Pool, 0 transmission, all these huge protests, no transmission or barely any transmission. Now, somebody from the CDC did say today, concerned that this would be what's called a seeding event, which means you're going to go home and expose everybody else that is perhaps at risk to this thing. And he's suggesting that if you were at the protest, you might want to go out and get tested. I think that's a great idea. Don't go out too soon. I mean, you want to give it a couple of days to make sure you actually produce the virus so you can be tested for it. Do I have any concerns regarding gyms opening up, which is that part of that stage 3 that we're moving into? I know gyms are going to great lengths to keep things. I would tell you, if you can wear a mask, do, but I know it's hard to, particularly if you're lifting very heavy, to do so. And if you are, obviously distance and Clorox wipes, man, Clorox wipes, and
if
keep
you breathe in with your
hands.
nose and out with your mouth, that would
nose
probably,
is the main transmission.
So just take it off your nose.
Nose is the main.
But you're breathing in.
Taking in the virus through your nose is one of the primary ways.
But I mean, if you're separated and you're lifting and nobody's around you, you can breathe in with your nose and out with your mouth and not spit on anybody.
If there's no one else around you, yes, you can do that, but it's not.
I'm sure they'll make people stay 6 feet apart or whatever.
Okay.
I don't know. I would go.
I think mask wearing has more benefits than we know, including keeping our hands away from our face. And when you're in a gym and you're grabbing lots of
that's
things,
me. Okay.
That's further benefits. So
but also somebody said they want to know, his wife wanted to go out with his girlfriends for lunch.
Yes.
I went out last night.
Absolutely. I think no problem with that.
Drew's going out with Adam tonight.
Yes, I'm going to have dinner with Adam Carolla. We're going to go to have a steak.
The bathrooms are so clean.
That's
It's the best. You know when you go in a Mexican restaurant and it just has that funny Mexican restaurant bathroom smell? That's gone now. It's awesome.
What about churches? They, I believe, are opening up again with distancing. In the Airbus A320, cabin air is 100% replaced every 2 to 3 minutes. That's interesting, Christopher. Thank you for that information. So that may be why the recirculation is not so much of an issue. What's going on with the antibody test? It's still available, but because the incidence is so relatively low, the false negative and false positive rate is relatively high. HEPA filters are okay, good idea. I'm all about filtering air for particularly those with allergic problems. New Jersey is doing better. Okyo, I saw the governor this morning, who I've learned to really like. I think he's a very smart man. Counting Paranormal is saying the virus has become less potent. It's mutated. I wouldn't hold too much on that. The virus does mutate. It has been accumulating mutations, but it could also suddenly go the other way. And so we're not counting on mutations. Let's just look at it this way. The viruses, like every biological entity, has a life course. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. A childhood, adolescent, adulthood, and obsolescence and senescence. And that has happened. And that may have happened no matter what we did. So it's again, we didn't know it was going to happen the way it did. And it also may be the season. It may be the summer that the virus hates that's causing it to die out now. So it's hard to know. Let me go to some of these calls. I see you all there. Of course, I don't have anybody's name, so who's this?
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi, Drew. Big fan. I come to you with a little bit of an esoteric question, not really health related, but
I'm going to have you to hold just a second.
finding in my
Susan,
life-
he's so low I can't hear him. So we're trying to work that
I
out. But
turned
go
him
ahead.
up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Speak
ahead.
into your speaker a little better.
Go ahead. It's an esoteric question,
How about now?
but that's better.
Okay. Well, I come with a little bit of an esoteric question for you. I find in my life that I have picked up a sort of learned helplessness when it comes to taking on and undergoing big tasks. So I was just wondering your advice on strategies to break
So
this sort of learned helplessness.
it's actually not an esoteric question and a great question. I rarely get asked. And it's the realm of what's called insurmountable tasks, right? And there's a whole discipline of approaching insurmountable tasks. And you know who does that very, who has a great approach to this, believe it or not, is the military. Because they're often tasked with things that seem insurmountable to the soldiers, and they have a way of approaching it. It's essentially, I'm gonna give you a metaphor. And it's a very simplistic metaphor, but the metaphor is, how do you eat an elephant, right? Like, oh my God, forget it, I can't do it. Well, you do it one bite at a time. So you focus on the here and now, the small and immediate, and you don't worry about the entire elephant. Can you do that kind of thing, do you think?
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
And I would
Thank
look
you
for.
so much.
I don't have any specific books or anything off the top of my head, but I guarantee you they're out there. Probably with all the Navy SEAL literature, and people like reading the stuff that these guys are tasked with and how they approach things psychologically. So I would look at that. So search around on the web. It's the literature of insurmountable tasks. So look it up that way, and that should be. I bet there's a lot more out there than I know. Hi, who's this?
Hey, this is Tim.
Hey, Tim, what's going on, man?
Hey, Dr. Drew. I'm a longtime fan, of course. I'm a 581-pound truck driver, and this is off topic. I hope you don't mind.
Go ahead.
I'm wanting to do an extended fast. I don't know if you've ever heard of Angus Barberry.
I'm familiar with that stuff, but I don't have any expertise in it. But go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was just wondering if you might have suggestions for supplements that I can take that would equal nutrition that I would need throughout my prolonged fast.
You're asking a very specific question that I don't feel equipped to answer, but I will.
Sorry.
No, really, because you need to be, if you're going to do something like that, you should be medically managed. I mean, if I were following you, I'd have some ideas, but I don't want to even hazard a guess till you're fully assessed and somebody really looks at what's going on here. Why not just do, follow the Vinnie Tortorich stuff and do the no carb, no starch, and people are having such success with that.
I hadn't done the keto for a while, and I really had success with that, even leaning towards the carnivoristic. But and no, I have had success with that. But I really wanted to disprove this theory that just because of the links people go to try to lose weight and using the operations that are causing huge medical issues.
Yeah, I'm not a huge
disciplinary issues and stuff.
I'm not a huge fan of the operations. I've seen lots of stuff, lots of problems. I've seen them work too.
Yeah,
to be fair,
I
to be fair, but I've seen lots of stuff, lots of recurrent aspirations and alcoholism and breakdown of the anastomosis.
Well, I think it's through modern technology that there should be a way for our body to utilize the energy that it currently has, and we should be able to supplement the nutrition without, because of the way that nutrition works. I mean, I really do. I have quite a bit of knowledge in it, and I can't find somebody that will do this with me because most people say we don't, recommend long-term fast.
It's too dangerous. Yeah, I unfortunately don't have anybody off the top of my head that really I know does this. But I dig that you're going around and trying to make a difference for yourself. I mean, it's time to do it. And yeah, I'm sorry I don't have any referrals for you. Again, I'm certain you know a lot because you clearly are somebody that's informed about this and spent a lot of time with the keto and the carnivore and all the different things and the nutritional stuff that's out there on the internet. But you need somebody to manage you, somebody to watch you. You need an objective view on what you're doing to make sure that you don't get yourself into any trouble. Hey, man, who's this?
Hi, this is Katie.
Hi, Katie. What's happening?
Hey, ma'am, who's this?
Hi. So first of all, I just have to say thank you for doing these shows. You have been my North Star throughout this whole few months. So I seriously cannot thank you enough.
It has been, it's helped. Let me tell you, Katie, it's helped both Susan and I feel purposeful. I mean, I keep saying it feels like it's like we're the French underground, broadcasting out of our basement. It feels like we're doing something to keep kind of unified in this really wild time, and it has not settled.
Oh my God,
he's a slave driver.
You are making.
Don't listen to him.
Yeah, you and Susan are both making a huge difference, at least in my life. So thank you so much. But my question is, so I'm a parent of a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Oh boy.
My daughter's preschool is obviously shut down when everything happened, but the school is kind of making plans to open up in the fall. So as far as social distancing goes with a 3-year-old, that's just not going to happen. They're not going to have the kids wear masks, although all the adults will.
Oh, that's interesting.
And they're going to limit class sizes, and obviously follow the CDC guidelines. But I'm just kind of interested to know, obviously you don't have little kids, but if your children were preschool age during this time, do you think you would consider sending them back?
I would. I'm certainly not telling you what to do, but I would. I really have faith in what the CDC is telling us. And Fauci has recently been tilting towards opening the schools. And I've been specifically, as he has moved that direction, been looking at the data amongst children. And while when children are infected and have complications, it's the most tragic story. It is significantly less common than the flu and other illnesses that are likely to affect kids. So our brains have difficulty assessing probabilities. We really do. And I know it would be very hard for me to send kids to school, but I would go with the recommendations that were being put out because kids are just really unlikely to get this. However, I want Susan to talk to you because she was expressing almost this whole pandemic her compassion for people with young children. So,
oh my God, I have triplets in preschool right now, and they were at home. I mean, by the time they were old enough to go to preschool, I was ready. They took these little animals.
That's how I feel.
They just took these three
I'm trying
little
not to feel
animals
guilty for being excited.
and turned them into
Oh,
human
sorry.
beings overnight. They like transformed these monkeys that were in my existence for 3 years, and they made them keep their shoes on when they got to school, because my kids took their shoes off, and then all the other kids took their shoes off, and they said, could you start making them wear their shoes in the house, because we spend half the day putting everybody's shoes back on because they all follow your kids. So believe me,
That's awesome.
those 4 hours of just, dropping them off and being able to go to the market, or just going to the gym, or whatever you do, go for a walk, just breathe, enjoy.
So again, it is us getting through this as parents and as a family, and it is a bit of a marathon, but follow formal directions. I would say do that, and I would trust the people that are making those decisions. I think they're in.
Don't feel guilty.
Don't feel guilty. Yeah, I would and hopefully.
Also, can I say one more thing about preschools and schools until they're in 18? When parents would make their kids go to school sick, used to drive me insane. And I think people are going to be more aware of that now. Yes. I know these are working parents and they need to send their kids to school, but now I think they should have reasons to keep their kids at home, and they can probably get homeschooled easier now because we're all sort of into that.
Yes.
But I remember just saying, why do you let these kids with viruses come in? They're making everybody sick, and then everybody has to go through it. So that might help us.
And who's this? I don't have your name. Sorry.
Hello.
Hey there.
Hey, it's my name's Kyle.
You're on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just had a question. So I've been looking at like preventions and treatments and things. A lot of things going on in the news, and I have a question because in March, in the peer-reviewed journal Medicine and Discovery, this doctor named Richard Chang, he reported in China that 50 moderate to severe cases of COVID-19 were able to be cured through intravenous vitamin C.
Yeah, that's all been looked at and really doesn't go anywhere clinically. It just doesn't. They've looked at that very carefully, and there just seems to be nothing in that. We wish there was something in it. My God, wouldn't that be great? There's no reason. Also, JH, you're talking about severe inflammatory Kawasaki syndrome. Yes, exceedingly rare. And there was one child in this country today that died of an encephalitis related to COVID, apparently. Yes, and there were also many other thousands of kids that died of other viral illnesses. So again, our brains don't assess these probabilities very well because the tragedy is so profound that we are so drawn to the story when children get sick. Hi, who's this?
Hi. Hello.
Hey there.
Hi, my name is Ryan.
Hey, Ryan. What's up?
Hi. I don't have a question about COVID or anything like that. Well, I mean, first of all, huge fan. I've been listening since Loveline was on in the 90s, back when I was in high school. And, big fan of Dr. Director Dart.
Oh, thanks.
So I have actually kind of a question about autism and Asperger's.
Sure.
I have suspected that I have Asperger's for several years. Okay. Like sort of functional, or at least passable as functional. I've been trying to get help for the past several years, or not. That might be a little exaggerating, but I've been trying to get help, but all I can seem to find for like with no health insurance and stuff are psychologists, and I'm looking for a psychiatrist so that way I can try and get a diagnosis or something.
Yeah,
that way I can.
I commend you in sort of coming to your own aid that way. However, most PhD or PsyD psychologists should be able to do a reasonable diagnostic workup on you. So you don't have to have a psychiatrist. From because most of the just like talk therapists
that I've been in contact with, because they're the only people that really deal with no insurance cases, most of them, when I've asked them about that, said that that's not something that they are able to do, like as far as diagnosing or anything like that.
Right.
And so the places I have found.
What about going to a university?
I have checked with UCLA. That is $600 for the testing. I don't have that. So I was just wondering if there are any other testing options that may be available.
You said UCLA is where you were looking?
Yes, I live in Los Angeles.
Okay, so I'll tell you. Let me give you a suggestion. Two things. One would be the Fuller Institute in Pasadena has had over the years very low cost psych testing, where they can actually do formal testing on you. So the Fuller Institute in Pasadena, and there's some place called the Maple Center in Beverly Hills that has a lot of resources that are free. So
cool.
Try those
Fuller
two.
Institute and
the
Maple.
And Maple Center, Beverly Hills, Fuller Institute in Pasadena. Give that a try, okay?
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much.
Good luck, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Let's quickly. I want to get to the restream and stuff with you guys too. Hi, who's this?
Hi, yes. This is Ross. How are you?
Hey, man. What's happening?
Oh, not much. Just doing, working from home, doing all that kind of stuff.
All the kind of stuff
thank you
the
for taking
rest
my
of us
call.
are doing. Hey, let me interrupt you for one quick second. Javier is asking, I'm looking at the restream while I'm talking to you, the monoclonal antibodies that are being created. He's asking, will that be a game changer? Absolutely. I humbly believe it will be. I believe there's 2 human trials out there going on, and these monoclonal antibodies may not just be therapeutic, they may also be preventative. So by the fall, we actually could have 2 ways of preventing COVID, vaccine and monoclonal antibodies. It could be really, really interesting. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, no worries. So my question is generally about, I'm noticing that in regards to just kind of everything going on, I'm wondering if you have any, advice or words or anything like that about preventing from falling into nihilism, because I'm noticing I'm kind of falling into some nihilistic thinking lately.
Yeah, somebody sent us an email on my website where they were talking about, and this person was specifically, I really was kind of moved by the letter, sort of saying that he is somebody with mental health issues, and now they feel like the people with mental health and sensitivities feel like they've been completely overlooked and are unimportant, and they're starting to decompensate and nobody cares. And I can imagine that's how some people could feel. And you're saying, as someone without mental health issues, you're sort of thinking, what's the use? Is that kind of how we're going here?
Yeah, and I'm on 10 milligrams of citalopram, so I do struggle with depression. I do see a therapist. If I'm being completely blunt and honest here, I'm actually a mental health worker myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm noticing it's kind of difficult with, all the protests and everything going on and the police and all that kind of stuff and COVID, and just, it's hard to imagine future right now.
Hey man, I feel it. I feel you. I totally feel you. I feel the same way. I don't feel nihilistic, but I feel all those things. And I've been feeling them for 2 months, and they used to be
nihilistic is too strong a word.
Maybe a month ago they felt worse actually, but I am so I'm so upset. I'm completely with you. So and obviously I've worked in mental health for years, and I have my own mental health stuff like you. And I'm super sensitive to things, and I really care about our country and what happens to it. Are you like that way too? Were you somebody that cares a lot?
Yeah, I would kind of argue that I'm a pretty sensitive person, I suppose. But yeah, I would say I care a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So this
hard to see everything going on.
And so is it? And let's kind of dig into this together. Is it the helplessness, or is it the sheer uncertainty of all this that's getting you all the way down?
If I could put a word to it, maybe the helplessness side of things.
Yeah.
Like, I feel pretty helpless, of course, with the COVID. Like, again, I'm working from home. I'm seeing my clients from home. I miss seeing them face to face, of course.
Yes.
And I live by myself in a studio apartment. Like, I'm single. I haven't even seen or anybody since February, basically. So there's that loneliness factor.
Right.
Of course.
So if you were talking to somebody who just said that to you, you know exactly what you would say, right? You would say, hey man, let's get systematic let's journal, let's get some sunshine, let's get some social interaction going. Let's see where you are as we kind of take care of yourself a little more effectively, right?
Right. The old self-care stuff.
Just the basic stuff, and with a key emphasis on social contact. Because you can go out now, you can wear a mask, you can go stuff, you can go to restaurants. I'm telling you, I went out last weekend. It was stunning how much better I felt just going out to dinner and having paying somebody to come serve and it was participating in their business. I mean, it really felt, I don't know. I feel like we need that. So yeah, and a jog, or somebody's saying go for a jog or a walk, all those kinds of things, very, very important. Very important.
I'll take a bike ride to the beach and stuff like that. I'll take a bike ride and all that kind of stuff. But just the future, hard to see future right now. But it's actually really helpful and comforting to know that you've thought the same stuff.
Oh, the exact same stuff. And I kept, Susan, how long have I been complaining about the not seeing the future part? I mean, everything was my entire. It's like it closed in on me. Like everything I was planning. Well, you too, Susan. We were looking forward.
I think
to doing
taking
all
a
these
bike
things.
ride is a good idea, but you need to get like around another person and like bitch about everything. It just feels so
well,
good.
That's your thing.
You know. Well, that's a chick thing, but like just it's just you can be a few feet apart with masks on and at least have that companionship. It's really important.
Yeah, I agree. Just the way you described where you are and how you're stuck, but this business about not having a future. First of all, we feel helpless because the forces that are at work here are bigger than all of us, and like we all feel helpless. But then not being able to plan a future. By the way, it was one of my biggest criticisms of what some of the governing people were doing. They would go, "Hey, we think we're going to open in 2 weeks. Oh no, it's going to be August. Oh now you cannot do that to people. Humans can tolerate
like the goalposts and everything.
We can tolerate discomfort if we know the time frame we're gonna have to tolerate. It's much more tolerable then. But if you say, hey, it's gonna be 2 weeks, we get ready for it, and they go, I'm sorry, it's gonna be 6 weeks, that's destructive to our psyches. So look, leaders, so-called, don't do that and get us out of this more quickly. As I've said over and over and over and over again, the science suggests that wearing a mask, washing your hands, social distancing is very nearly the same as quarantine. So let's get out there and start engaging again.
But it doesn't make headline news, Drew. We don't have a press conference on it every day with the President of the United States anymore.
I know. It's ridiculous. But
we need it.
Look, guess what? My prediction based on the mild, and you're mildly depressed too, right? I mean, that's really what's going on here. If you and I to characterize what the thinking and the feeling and the dynamics are, what we're talking about, the bottom line is you're a little depressed, and I feel exactly the same way.
Okay.
Right?
All right, cool.
All right, man.
Thank you for your time. Thanks for taking the call.
Good luck. Great question. Oops. You're sure. Get him back in the queue.
Can you tell I'm in a hostile mood today?
Are you? Is that what that is? I don't know.
I'm just ready for humans to live their lives.
I see. You're ready to. You're feeling intolerant.
We don't have. Well, we have other issues to deal with right now. Obviously, they are more important, but somebody's got to get the country back on their feet after the COVID as well. So it's kind of hard to maneuver through the information.
I'm not sure what you're saying.
I mean, we're worried about Black Lives Matter. We're worried about protests. We're worried about our cities and our businesses starting up again. And it's just the mental health stuff is just being thrown to the side.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Great question on the restream. JH, how is this IL-6 inhibitor helping COVID patients? And it's still a work in progress. I've used it quite a bit because it does get at the cytokine storm. You know what, Susan? We ought to try to interview Dr. What's his name? The doctor that I interviewed here a couple times in detail.
Yadigar?
Dr. Yadigar.
How come I always remember his name and you don't?
I sometimes do. Let's get him in here to talk about. He was really working on the cytokine storm clinically and having a lot of good results with that. So it would be interesting. Brooke, hotel rooms, see if you can get them to do UV. I believe that this UV sterilizing is going to be a good thing. So see if the UV thing. Michelle, you're saying a large uptick in Michigan. That's interesting. Let me look that up. I've not seen Michigan's data today. Where were you looking? Were you looking on the? I don't see it. Let me see. Hold on now. Everything looks down. I'm going to the COVID tracking project, which is a pretty good source of data, and see if they have Michigan there. Go ahead.
I'm going to mention everybody to check out Dr. Drew After Dark this week. It's number 69, where Christina P. talks to Dr. Drew about lazy rectums. Not so my lazy rectum,
so proud of that show.
But other people's lazy rectums.
Positive tests. Looks like there was a big uptick in positive tests. That's interesting. No, a little bit of an uptick in deaths. That's interesting. We went from 58,000 to 63,000 when normally they're going up by about 500 or so a day at the most. The deaths were generally going at about 20, and then all of a sudden we're at like 60. So the deaths are slightly uptick. Now I'm wondering, a sudden uptick like that makes me wonder if there was some sort of testing issue. So we'll have to keep watching to see if that is a trend. And again, that's not a huge change. Yeah, you're looking at that same data, Michelle, I'm looking at. Okay. Andrew is saying they added a bunch of tests. Is that what you're saying? That the testing went up, so they detected more? That would make sense.
I want to try something with your mic, okay?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Test 1 2 1 2.
It faded in and out. I'm turning something off to see if it is better.
Okay. I'll look at the restream in the meantime. Yeah. Mark, the California numbers didn't really tick up. They did a little bit. It was mostly on the hospitalization side. They stayed pretty steady. They're not going down. Somebody's saying the compressor is off a little bit. So let me go back to taking calls again. Hi, who's this?
This is Nicole. How are you?
Hi, Nicole. I'm great. What's going on?
I also want to thank you. You've been my North Star through this as well.
That's very kind.
I had a question about my dad. He's 71 years old. He has cardiomyopathy, heart failure, AFib, ventricular tachycardia. He has a defibrillator and a pacemaker, and he's been on and off the transplant list. So he's clearly high risk. He's been doing well, but my 2.5-year-old niece has recently gone back to daycare, which I know you touched on earlier.
Right.
So I'm just worried if them having contact, if she can transmit, be asymptomatic.
Yes, she can. Obviously, she can.
What are your thoughts?
I would keep everybody away from him for the time being if you can. We in that conversation we were having at preschool, we were talking about the fall. What state are you in?
Mm-hmm.
What state
he's in Maryland.
And you are where?
In California, LA.
All right. I mean, it's a really challenging situation because obviously he's in a precarious situation with his life expectancy if he does not get a heart. So I can understand where you'd want to visit him, but I would really practice the distancing, and I'm afraid a child may not be able to do that quite the way you want them to. Certainly.
That's what I was thinking too. And even if my mom is around her and not my dad, that can still be then, translated through my mom.
Yep. It's low probability. Yeah. It's very low probability. And maybe towards the end of the summer, if things are really crashing down the way they might in terms of the incidents, it might make more sense. But, he really needs to be quarantined quite literally for the meantime. So let's talk here to, hi, who's this?
Hey, can you hear me?
I hear you.
Hey, Dr. Drew. My name's Brian. Thank you so much for everything that you do and for speaking with me.
You bet.
I have a quick question. I am trying to get off of taking Xanax. I've been on it for about 2 years, and when the coronavirus hit, it became more difficult to see my doctor. So I decided, it'd be probably a good time to start tapering and potentially get off for good. I kind of just don't like the idea of being on
All right.
a drug or
sure.
anything.
By all means, that's what you need to do. That I completely concur with it. That's the right thing to do. Before we get into this, I want to talk to the Restream for a second. Ignatius Pyfreli.
Sure.
The Michigan numbers went up, he says, because they included backlog probable cases. So there's a backlog that brought through that created that increase. That's kind of what it looks like to me. That's kind of what I thought. So how much Xanax are you taking per day?
I was taking 2 milligrams, and then I got down to comfortably taking 1, just to help me sleep at night. I don't think I have anxiety or anything. My doctor prescribed it to me. I kind of wish they never would have.
Of course.
I definitely got addicted, and I've been off of it now completely it's been about 5 to 6 days, and first couple of days were really, really hard, but it hasn't gotten significantly better. And I'm wondering if there's any maybe step down medication or any sort of,
Yes, there are. So
that
there are two or three medicines that can be helpful for you. First of all, Neurontin is very helpful. It's a very
Neurontin. Can you say that one more time?
Gabapentin or Neurontin. Yes, you can take a high dose of that at bedtime, and for a lot of people, it helps them sleep. Your sleep is going to be disrupted for about 3 months. And so you're going to have to be on something.
I've noticed that.
Yeah. And so, but Neurontin is very helpful. A short-term medication that we used to use that I found to be very, very helpful was phenobarbital. And it's long-acting. It stays in your system for a while, and it's something that a lot of doctors don't have experience with it, but you could talk to your doctor about whether or not that might be okay. But the Neurontin is very safe, and the dosing window is quite large, so you can mess around with it to try to find something that works for you. Number 3, in terms of sleep, obviously melatonin and sometimes Benadryl can be helpful, but Seroquel. Seroquel can sometimes be helpful. It's quetiapine or Seroquel can be helpful for the sleep and for the withdrawal. And sometimes for the anxiety and the very, very low dose of Seroquel. So those are 3 things you should talk to your doctor about, okay?
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you should be managed. You should be on something too, because that Neurontin is an anti-seizure medicine, and you still have a certain kind of seizure risk here, being completely off the Xanax. You got to be very, very, very careful. Hi, who's this?
Hi, this is Lauren.
Hi, Lauren. What's going on?
Hey, Dr. Drew. Long time, first time.
Cool.
I was just hoping for some sort of words of wisdom and advice. In February and January of this year, both my mother-in-law and father-in-law were diagnosed with pancreatic cancer.
Oh, boy. Awful.
Yeah. And they've been divorced for 40 years. So it's kind of bonkers that they would both get it at the exact same time.
Yeah. Very weird. How old are they?
And my mother-in-law is 66 and my father-in-law is 69.
Wow.
Mother-in-law is stage 1A. Which is the best of the worst, obviously.
Yeah.
And then my father-in-law is stage 4.
Ugh.
Yeah. And on top of that, my own mother, actually was just treated for a type of lymphoma. She's clear, apparently, but she'd also had a cancer diagnosis during that exact same time.
What kind of lymphoma?
She had a nodal, what was it called? Nodal marginal zone B cell, large cell.
Large cell lymphoma. Okay.
Yeah, and it was her physician mentioned it was a really easy one to treat.
Right.
Very early on, so it was not too worrisome, which is
That's
good.
right. It's one that has a cure associated with it potentially. It can get out of hand really easily too, but it's one, if you get it, you can get a cure going.
Yeah, and she's being managed, so.
So one of the things you might want to do is get a genetic screen for yourself and maybe your husband as well, where you can screen for the more common DNA repair mechanism abnormalities, essentially what they are. They're like the BRCA gene, but there's about 30 common ones that are associated with things like pancreatic cancer. And I would definitely go get that checked out. It's called, you can get it for about $200 at something called color.com. It's a cheek swab test, and if you're positive, they will test any first-degree relatives for $50. So it's this, and keep in mind, 5 years ago, this would have been $25,000. I mean, it's crazy that we have access to this.
Yeah.
Now. So I would take full advantage of that.
And actually, my husband has done that because his mother's is not hereditary. She's already been tested through her insurance, but his father might be. And so we actually did color for that exact reason. We have 2 young kids.
Good. Great.
Who we want to make sure we're on top of them.
Great.
But I'm personally having a really difficult time dealing with the enormity of this plus COVID plus, the world falling apart.
I know.
So be my North Star.
Well,
any words of wisdom?
Okay. So let me first start by saying that I feel fragile too. I was just telling somebody else that, and I feel overwhelmed and I have trouble seeing the future, but I have been optimistic the last couple of days. I still feel like there's lots of danger and question marks ahead, but I'm feeling somewhat optimistic. So, and it just to hold on to optimism makes me feel less depressed. And you've got a lot to deal with, and the hard part about this amongst there's 2 sort of qualities to it. It's the helplessness, 3 qualities. It's the lack of ability to sort of predict the future because we're so out of control. And then there's the marathon grinding quality in all this. And I feel like for you, that's the bigger thing, because you've got, now 3 sick people. Now let's take your mom off the list. Let's do sort of a reality check. Let's take your mom off the list. She's going to be okay, right? She's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Your mother-in-law with the 1A pancreatic cancer, is she going to have an operation?
She is, yeah. She did. What I'm understanding is the most aggressive form of chemo. She went through 6 treatments over the course of, I think it was every 2 weeks, so 3 months. She's about to have the Whipple in late June.
Okay. And
then she'll go back for more chemo after that.
Occasionally, those can turn out okay. Depends where it is in the cancer, in the pancreas and stuff, but I assume it's the head of the pancreas. I mean that. So let's.
And it was blocking the bile duct, which is why we caught
let me look up.
Because she was
let me look it up for you. So the prognosis for.
Her oncologist had given her a 50% chance of making it 5 years. With
that sounds about
surgery, chemo for cancer.
That sounds about right to me. Half of early stage referred to a surgeon. If caught early, treatable, potentially curable. That's what I thought. So this could potentially be a cure.
Yeah.
So let's say 5. And so let's look to her being, oh my God, you so rarely get to treat a stage 1 pancreatic cancer. It's just rare that we pick them up like that. So that's great news. So let's put that in context and be positive. It's unfortunate though that your father-in-law, this is going to be bad. I mean, it's just the way it is, and that's what you got to kind of prepare for. That it's just going to be bad. But the other 2 are going to be with you for a while. Okay.
Okay.
And we are going to get through, as a country, we're going to get through stuff. I have no idea what it's going to look like, but I'm optimistic. And I want you to remain optimistic too, okay?
Okay, will do. I'll try.
Can you do
Thanks.
it?
I like making sure that I check in with you and listen to what you have to say about COVID, especially because it helps.
COVID is mostly gone for the summer. I say, like, I don't want to squander the opportunity, so I want everyone to be diligent in their practice of distancing and masks. But I think COVID is leaving us for the summer, and I think in the fall.
Okay.
And I think in the fall we will have monoclonal antibodies and a vaccine. But exactly how that plays out, it's too far ahead to be able to tell.
But get your flu shot.
And in terms of all the unraveling that's going on in this country, I that's where I'm upset right now, and so I'm not quite sure what to do with that. So here we are. All right, my dear. Good luck. Thank you, and love to hear updates on all that to make sure I'm correct about this. I want to go back to the Restream and see what you guys are talking about. Margaret says the USA will survive this crisis. I think Matthew, I saw the South Park episode about fish sticks. I did see it. I saw it.
He's still talking about
and I'm a
fish
South Park fan, and I appreciate you bringing them into the conversation. But
that was like one of the first things the guy said. I'm having it's 12 o'clock. I'm having my whiskey and Coke and fish sticks.
Put it to rest.
I said happy Friday.
JH, I'm not sure what you're telling Javier. 3 to 5 days for symptoms to show up. JH, Javier is actually right. 3 to 7 days for 80% of symptoms to show up. So if we were going to see a major uptick because of the demonstrations, we should have already seen it. Now, if there is a bunch of asymptomatic carriers out there, we will see it in the death rate in about 7 to 14 days from now. So I'm watching that very carefully. Yeah, Zach, you took a shower and he's still talking about fish sticks. So, and by the way, it's about Cartman making a bad joke about fish sticks. It was not a good joke.
I can't believe you remember that.
I remember most of the South Parks. They're hard to forget.
I try not to remember any of
them. Two doctors, a nurse and a facial surgeon told me they've never seen a dangerous reaction to hydroxychloroquine. That is correct. I've used it maybe hundreds of times. I've never seen any reaction. I've had people on it for years, hydroxychloroquine. We used to send them to an ophthalmologist once a year because there's a rare complication of a retinal reaction after 10 years of use and an uncommon reaction of corneal deposits. After 1 year, never saw corneal deposits, never saw one side effect from hydroxychloroquine, used daily for years. I can't say that of Tylenol or aspirin. Seriously, aspirin, I've seen GI bleeds. Tylenol, I've seen liver problems. I cannot say that of hydroxychloroquine, not one side effect. So that's why when people started saying it's dangerous, that's when I took issue with that. I don't know how many years these people practice medicine. Like my friend Joy Behar, evidently she's been using hydroxychloroquine forever because she's decided it's a fatal medication. It is not. I assure you it is not. Now,
Joy Behar.
The data, they just threw out the Lancet article yesterday from something called Surgisphere, which was an organization that used some data to put out a concern about the use of hydroxychloroquine in advanced COVID cases. Turns out Surgisphere is an organization that was not reputable. Lancet should never have reported it. They had 5 employees, one of whom was a science fiction writer, another who was a adult model. Again, I don't know why these things rush to publication. The really serious part about that data is that it froze legitimate placebo-controlled studies that were being done because people were concerned it was going to harm patients. That they really should be taken to task for. Now, there was a good study that came out 2 days ago on prophylactic using of hydroxychloroquine in healthcare providers and whatnot to try to prevent the transmission. Looks like there might have been about a 17% difference in the hydroxychloroquine group versus not. So there might be some benefit, and there were zero side effects. Zero side effects. So there we go.
Did you see the text I just sent you? That's from Rick Swinger, the photographer in Venice.
Well, he has a picture of Ben Affleck out with the crowd without a mask, and I don't know what his point is.
What is the guy's shirt next to him?
A lot of people are out there.
It said something like, let me see if I can see it.
Let me see if I can enlarge it. Death by medicine is what it says.
And then the guy behind him.
Save the Baptist Church. What's wrong with the Baptist Church in Venice?
In Venice.
I'm concerned. I want to know more. Alcohol is dumping unsold wine to make alcohol for hand sanitizer. That's hysterical.
Why would he not wear a mask? I just don't get that.
I feel the same way. Why not wear it when we have this opportunity? Let's say you don't need to wear it. Let's say it's a very low risk. Why not just do it?
I mean, if it was under his chin or
something,
something, at least he would look like he was just trying to be seen, you know?
Listen, if it doesn't cover your mouth and nose, you're not doing much.
But the guy behind him with the death by medicine, I'll put it up. It's kind of
Susan,
crazy.
What is your YouTube channel? Zach is wondering. He's going to hack it and put the fish stick joke up. But go ahead, give him.
I don't have one.
I mean us. I think she's talking.
Well,
about
Dr. Drew is all my shows are also on the Dr. Drew platform. I had one that I had my kids' videos up of when they were kids and stuff, but nobody looks at it.
So Brandy, what I said was hydroxychloroquine is safe and not dangerous. That it shows some maybe benefit in prophylactic use, but whether it has good therapeutic use has not yet been fully established. But the whole idea of it being dangerous looks to be completely bogus. And again, I can accept that if somebody is very sick, that maybe this medication, for reasons we don't understand, is having some adverse effect. But on somebody who's otherwise well, particularly like people who are getting prophylactic use, there's no way. Mara wants to know what I do to keep my glasses from fogging up from the mask. I can't keep. They fog up. And it drives me crazy. And it's why I didn't become a surgeon.
There's
I can't
something
stand wearing
called
masks.
a no fog cloth. You can buy it. It's got kind of a waxy soap on it. You can use it when you go skiing. So it'll kind of, you get it wet and you rub it on your glasses and it helps the foggy.
Yeah. Okay, guys. I say we should wrap things up. Russ, thank you. We appreciate it. Vitamin D is good. Vitamin C is good. And zinc appears to be good. I do all of those things myself. And True Niagen I've been taking for a long time, and I'm
NAD.
I want to. We got to schedule that NAD doctor.
I know. I didn't know we were going to do this today. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe I can get them on.
That would be great. So we're going to try to give you some information on these
since
NAD
we're not going away,
and why I think the nicotinamide riboside, which is True Niagen, may have some equally as beneficial. It seems to be good for me.
And we have a show on Monday with Jimmy O Yang.
Oh, great. And Fred Stoller?
Well, I don't know. Right now, so far, we have Jimmy O Yang, I believe, and we have a special episode with the woman who wanted to get her teeth done by Dr. Brady.
Yes, Dr. Brady and Allison.
But we're not going to tell you what happened, but it's very exciting.
Okay, I'm not going to tell you what happened, but it's great. So conclude for yourself. We're not going to tell you what
it's
happened.
It's a feel-good story.
Yeah, it's great.
And then also I always like to plug the After Dark, because this week we're going to talk about my
go ahead,
your experience with me and my machine gun experience.
Your flatus?
I think I was dreaming about protecting myself or something during the riot.
So Susan makes a rare appearance on this week's After Dark with myself and Christina P. So check it out. After Dark, you can get all at
And I'm going to get to be on her show pretty soon. So
yes, you should.
On the 17th, I do believe.
Oh, good. All right, great. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining us. And we will be here this weekend since we're not really going anywhere. What do you think, Susan?
We are here.
So should we do one tomorrow?
Yeah, we'll load up and then we'll take the middle of next week off.
Okay, so our plan is to take the latter part of next week off if things don't really, if we don't feel compelled to get on here. But we'll be around tomorrow, so let's do something tomorrow. We'll see you then. Thanks.
I watch TikTok, as you know, and you can see what's happening in the rest of the country.
I cannot believe how much of the stuff is documented on TikTok.
Thank you. I've been saying it forever, guys. It's the pulse of the world. It's on the talk. And you're finally coming, oh, they laughed at me, and now who's at the forefront?
I'm still laughing at you.